And by that time, another bodyguard was coming in the door. And I started screaming, hollering for this bodyguard to go upstairs and see what is happening.
Before she died, the former Graceland maid, who spent years inside Elvis Presley's private world, finally broke her silence, and what she revealed stunned fans everywhere. For decades, Nancy Rooks stayed quiet. No scandals, no interviews, no headlines. But in her final years, she spoke openly for the first time. And what she said about Elvis's last days didn't fully match the story the public had always believed. Was there more happening behind the walls of Graceland than anyone knew? This wasn't gossip or second-hand rumor. It came from a woman who had been there, watching from the inside.
And what we gonna have for breakfast this morning? He said, fried peanut butter and banana sandwich. And I looked at him, I said, what?
Long before Graceland became a tourist attraction lined with velvet ropes and souvenir shops, it was simply a home, busy, messy, and alive. And inside that home was Nancy Rooks, a woman few fans ever knew by name. She never chased fame or appeared in tabloids, but from 1967 until Elvis's death in 1977, Nancy became part of the private world hidden from public view. She arrived at Graceland by accident through a temporary agency assignment meant only to fill in for someone sick. But Elvis's father, Vernon Presley, noticed her calm nature and strong work ethic and asked her to stay. What began as a short job soon became a permanent role inside one of America's most famous homes. Nancy started as a housekeeper, but her role quickly grew.
He said, fried peanut butter and banana sandwich. I said, I never heard of it.
She cooked Elvis's favorite Southern meals: peanut butter and banana sandwiches, fried pickles, meatloaf, and cornbread, often late at night because Elvis lived by his own clock. But Nancy saw more than his appetite. She saw the man behind the legend, sometimes cheerful, sometimes distant, often exhausted after the guests were gone. On quiet nights, Elvis would even ask her and his grandmother, Minnie May, to sing hymns with him in the kitchen. And through it all, Nancy stayed loyal. She didn't gossip. She didn't sell stories. Even as others profited from the Presley name, Nancy Rooks stayed quiet. Fans often wrote asking what Elvis was truly like, and her answers were simple. He was kind. He was funny. He was generous. She rarely said more. When Nancy finally shared deeper memories, she did so in books like The Maid, The Man, and the Fans, and Inside Graceland. But these weren't sensational exposés. They were careful reflections from someone who had lived inside Elvis's world and had little reason to exaggerate. She wrote about daily routines, private moments, and even the day Elvis died, always with warmth and restraint. That honesty is why her memories mattered. Fans saw them not as scandal, but as rare glimpses of the man behind the legend. Yet even in those pages, there were details Nancy left unsaid, perhaps out of loyalty, perhaps because some memories felt too heavy to share. Nancy never stood under stage lights or chased public attention, but she was there, in the kitchen, on the staircase, and behind closed doors, watching history unfold from only a few feet away.
He was just hanging around the house, so he would go to the swimming pool. I'd go set the pool up for him so he could lay out by the pool.
And as the Elvis myth grew louder over the years, her memories stayed tucked away. Until late in life, when she finally opened that door just a little wider. By the summer of 1977, something inside Graceland had changed. There was still laughter, still late-night music, but the mood felt heavier. Elvis wasn't quite the same. He looked more tired, quieter, and at times visibly uncomfortable. Yet he was still making plans, still preparing for future tour dates and talking about getting back on the road. Nancy noticed the little changes others might overlook. The slower movements, the uneven appetite. Some nights he asked for full meals, while other nights he wanted only juice or water.
I walked down the hallway to look through his dressing room area, into his bathroom. And when I saw him,
Upstairs, the bathroom had become his private refuge, a place where he could be alone without interruption. Elvis had always lived on an unusual schedule, awake deep into the night and asleep after sunrise. Nancy adapted to that rhythm, cooking breakfast at midnight and preparing meals while most people were starting their day. But in those final weeks, his moods became harder to read. One moment he joked with friends, the next he wandered the halls lost in thought. The day before he died, Elvis played racquetball at Graceland. That detail became part of history, but what people forget is how ordinary the day seemed. He wasn't bedridden or helpless. He was active, laughing, and moving around the house. And maybe that's what made the shock so devastating. Nancy remembered the early hours of August 16th. Elvis had returned from racquetball and stood near the kitchen steps, tired but alert. Following routine, she asked if he wanted breakfast. "You want something to eat, Mr. Elvis?" He gently shook his head. "No, I don't want anything right now. I just want to get some sleep, but I would like some water."
Very seldom he would get out in there and swim. Most of the time he would lay by and listen to the radio and drink a Shasta drink.
Nancy asked Pauline to bring him water in a simple plastic jug, the kind usually used for orange juice. It was an ordinary moment, barely noticeable at the time, but Pauline never forgot it. Elvis grabbed the jug and drank deeply, faster than she had ever seen before. "I ain't never knowed him to drink water like he did that morning," Pauline later recalled. Nancy didn't think much of it then. To her, Elvis had been playing racquetball. He was overheated and simply thirsty. But years later, that memory stayed with her. Not because it seemed dramatic, but because it felt painfully normal. That was their final exchange. Elvis didn't ask for anything extravagant or speak in grand words. He wanted water. And then he went upstairs. Later that morning, Ginger Alden found him unresponsive in the bathroom. Suddenly, Graceland erupted into panic. Paramedics rushing in, voices shouting, confusion spreading through the house. But for Nancy, the strongest memory wasn't the chaos. It was the quiet echo of that last request. For decades after Elvis Presley's death, Nancy Rooks remained one of the most trusted yet least outspoken people connected to Graceland. While others turned their memories into headlines or profit, Nancy stayed measured and private. It wasn't because she lacked stories. If anything, she had more than most. But she treated those memories carefully, believing some things deserved protection.
And sometimes he'd ride the horses around the place, or sometimes he'd ride the motorcycles around the place.
She gave interviews and wrote books, including Inside Graceland, but never turned Elvis into a spectacle. Her stories carried warmth rather than scandal. Readers came away with memories of a human being, not tabloid gossip. Still, there were things she never fully shared. Certain moments never appeared in print. Certain comments Elvis made lingered in her mind. And over time, those memories became harder to keep buried. Not from bitterness or a desire for attention, but because Nancy felt time running short. In her later years, she spoke more openly about one troubling detail: the pills. She described how common they were and how carefully they seemed woven into Elvis's daily life. Not reckless chaos, but a routine that felt unsettling. Even with doctors constantly around him, Nancy sometimes felt he wasn't truly being healed. He was being managed. And one point mattered deeply to her. Nancy never believed Elvis wanted to die. She insisted otherwise. He was exhausted, worn down, but still fighting. He was still in there, she once told a friend. Still trying. Then came a quiet conversation late in her life. Someone casually asked if there was anything she wished she had said publicly about Elvis. Nancy paused for a long moment and answered softly, "I don't think he died the way they said he did. Not really." Nancy Rooks wasn't promoting conspiracy theories or claiming Elvis Presley faked his death. What she questioned was something quieter and more complicated. To her, the public story, that Elvis simply collapsed from drugs and failing health left out important pieces of who he was during those final days.
Batting the ball over, the net sometime around the place. But other than that, he would be asleep, I'm going to tell you.
She believed the world had been given a simplified ending. Yes, Elvis was struggling. Yes, he was sick. But Nancy said he was also making plans. He talked about changing his life, getting away from the noise, and starting over somewhere far from Graceland. These weren't stories she had shared publicly before, but near the end of her own life, she slowly began opening up. One person who heard her speak described it as a release, as if she had carried these memories for decades and could finally breathe again. Nancy never tried to rewrite history. Instead, she offered something gentler, a missing layer to a story people thought they already understood. And what she said next would leave many people rethinking Elvis's final hours. It didn't happen during a press conference or television special. It came during a small recorded conversation only months before Nancy passed away. Her voice had grown softer with age, but her memory remained sharp. Elvis was not what people think, she said. He was not some lost man waiting to die, and he didn't die the way they told y'all he did. For decades, Nancy had been known as the quiet and loyal one, never stirring controversy. But this time felt different. Maybe it was age. Maybe it was knowing she had outlived so many who had once stood inside Graceland with her. Or maybe, as Nancy simply said, it's just time. She returned to that final morning. He didn't ask for food, she recalled, just water, and he drank it like he hadn't had anything in days. That stuck with me. To Nancy, Elvis looked exhausted, but not defeated. He was tired, she said, but there was something in his eyes, like he was trying to reset, not give up. Then came the statement that silenced the room. I always said he was sick, but I'm telling you now, Elvis was not ready to die. Nancy said Elvis had spoken about escaping, not from people, but from pressure and constant expectations. He told me once, she recalled, I wish I could just be a man again, just a man somewhere quiet. To her, those weren't the words of someone surrendering. She also pointed to something rarely discussed, the books Elvis kept upstairs. Many focused on spirituality, healing, and self-improvement. He was looking for answers, Nancy said, not in pills, not anymore. She never denied his struggles. Elvis was hurting, exhausted, and dependent on medication. But Nancy believed one truth deserved to be remembered. He wasn't fine, she admitted, but he was trying, and that matters. Nancy's words were never dramatic, but they carried weight. They say he overdosed, she said quietly. But I think he was exhausted, not just physically, spiritually, and that makes a difference. To her, Elvis hadn't seemed reckless or out of control that morning. He wasn't acting wild or detached. He looked worn down, a man desperate for rest. He just wanted sleep, she said. Then Nancy revealed something she had never shared publicly before. Only days before Elvis died, she said he asked her a strange question. He asked if I believe people could start over. Nancy told him yes, if they truly wanted to. And according to her memory, Elvis smiled and replied, maybe I will. Maybe one day I'll wake up and leave all this, just disappear. He laughed as he said it, almost joking. But Nancy admitted something about the moment stayed with her. Part of her wondered if he meant it. Those who heard Nancy speak in her final years said her tone wasn't bitter or sensational. It sounded more like closure, a final chapter from someone who had spent years cleaning his rooms, cooking his meals, and quietly standing nearby while history unfolded. Before her death, Nancy Rooks didn't try to rewrite Elvis Presley's story. She simply reframed it. To her, Elvis wasn't a king who suddenly collapsed beneath fame. He was a tired man still trying to find his footing, and maybe, just maybe, trying to begin again. But Nancy carried another belief too, one that surprised many people. After Elvis died, she remained at Graceland, often working late into the night after the tours ended and the mansion grew still, or at least what seemed still. In a rare interview, Nancy admitted she believed Elvis's spirit never fully left the house. "Yeah, well, it were," she said matter-of-factly. She remembered cleaning the trophy room at night when lights would suddenly flicker on and off around her. "I'd tell Mr. Elvis, 'Now you leave these lights alone, 'cause I got to see.'" She never told these stories to sound frightening. That wasn't her personality. She simply described what she experienced, and she wasn't alone. Other staff had shared similar moments over the years, but Nancy spoke about them with surprising normalcy, as though Elvis remained a familiar presence still watching over his home. One memory stayed especially vivid. Nancy recalled lying down near the trophy room exhibits to rest during a night shift when suddenly she felt someone shake her foot. "I jumped up," she said. "Didn't see nobody." Then she laughed. I said, "Mr. Elvis, I know what you did. You done that to wake me up." To Nancy, the experience wasn't terrifying. It felt familiar, playful, like Elvis being Elvis. She never claimed he faked his death or chased strange theories. Her belief was simpler and quieter, that maybe some part of him never truly left Graceland. "He loved that house," she said softly. "He loved us. I don't think he wanted to go. Not fully." And perhaps in her heart, she believed he never completely did. When news of Nancy Rook's final testimony began circulating, it didn't explode across headlines or dominate television. Instead, it spread quietly through Elvis fan forums, collector circles, and conversations among longtime Presley followers. But those paying attention knew something felt different. This wasn't another recycled rumor or secondhand story. It came from someone who had lived inside Graceland, someone who had witnessed Elvis's private world firsthand and spent decades avoiding publicity. And now, after nearly 50 years, she had finally spoken. The reaction was divided. Some fans were deeply moved. To them, Nancy's words revealed an Elvis they had never fully considered, not merely a superstar or tragic icon, but a complicated man carrying heavy burdens. One fan wrote online, "Nancy changed everything for me. I always thought Elvis gave up. Now I think he was just exhausted from carrying everyone else's expectations." Others questioned the timing. Why speak now? Why stay silent for so long? Yet even skeptics struggled to dismiss her credibility. Nancy had never built a career from Elvis stories or chased financial gain. She spoke quietly, then passed away not long afterward, leaving her memories behind without fanfare or promotion. And that gave her words unusual weight. Among Elvis historians and biographers, her testimony sparked a quieter debate. For years, the dominant story had remained largely unchanged. Elvis spiraled downward, became trapped by fame and addiction, and died too young. Nancy didn't reject those facts. Instead, she offered another perspective. In her eyes, Elvis wasn't reckless. He was overwhelmed. She believed he was exhausted, struggling, and deeply worn down, but still thinking about change, still hoping for something beyond the life he had built. That subtle difference caught attention. A handful of smaller publications explored the idea with headlines asking whether Elvis had been planning a private comeback or searching for a different future. But major media outlets mostly stayed silent. After all, Nancy offered no scandal, no accusation, and no sensational revelation. Just a calm voice suggesting the ending may have been more human than people realized. Inside the Elvis fan community, however, her words lingered. Fans revisited interviews, watched footage from his final performances, and searched old stories for clues. Gradually, the conversation began to shift. The question was no longer simply, how did Elvis die? It became something far more personal, and that shift mattered. Nancy Rooks' words gave people permission to see Elvis differently, not as a man simply fading away, but as someone still fighting beneath the weight of fame. Those who had known Nancy personally said her testimony carried unusual credibility. Former staff members and friends of the Presley circle described her as careful, measured, and never careless with her words. "She never said anything unless she meant it," one former co-worker recalled. "So if Nancy said Elvis wasn't ready to go, I believe her." In the end, her confession didn't ignite scandal. It sparked compassion. Her memories reminded people that legends are not built overnight, and they do not collapse into simple endings either. Nancy's truth wasn't dramatic or explosive. It was deeply human. Through her eyes, Elvis wasn't merely a superstar destroyed by fame. He was a man carrying enormous pressure while still reaching for something better. And perhaps that was the greatest gift Nancy gave him before her own passing, understanding. Yet for everything Nancy revealed, much remained unsaid. That is the nature of stories hidden behind closed doors. Today, Graceland stands as a museum, preserved and polished for visitors from around the world. But the real Graceland, the one filled with late-night laughter, quiet conversations, and private moments like Nancy described, existed only for the small circle who truly lived there, and most of them are now gone. Nancy's final testimony did not solve the mystery surrounding Elvis Presley. If anything, it deepened it. Because if Elvis truly dreamed of starting over, of escaping the pressure and simply becoming a man again, what stopped him? Was his body already failing him? Was he trapped inside a world shaped by fame, expectations, and people pulling him in different directions? Or had he come to believe that the world would never accept any version of Elvis that existed without the crown? Those questions may never be answered. Was there one final conversation left unfinished? A phone call never made? Someone he planned to see that night? Nancy's memories suggest a man standing somewhere between exhaustion and reinvention, between staying and leaving. But the full truth likely left with him. What remains is something quieter. A woman who spent nearly 45 years protecting her memories finally chose to speak. And when she did, she offered no scandal, no spectacle, and no bitterness. Only clarity. To Nancy Rooks, Elvis Presley was never a broken legend beyond saving. He was human, flawed, burdened, and struggling, but still holding on to hope. Maybe that was the message she wanted to leave behind. Not a correction to history, but a reminder that even legends dream of escape. And perhaps the most powerful stories are not told by the loudest voices, but by those who wait until the world is finally ready to listen. If Elvis truly was planning to start over, to leave behind the weight of fame and simply live as a man again, what stopped him? And what might the world have looked like if he had lived long enough to tell that story himself? If you enjoyed this video, let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Do you believe Nancy Rooks revealed a side of Elvis the world never fully understood? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss another story. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.